Okay, so today what we're going to be working on is adding and subtracting fractions, algebraic fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, so I'd like you to put me on pause and try this and then come back and check your answers. Okay, so number one is a subtraction, and I have the same denominator. So remember, when you have the same denominators, like denominators, all you have to do is add or subtract the numerators, keep the denominator. Okay, so since my denominator is x4 minus x, I'm going to leave it as 4 minus x. In the numerator, I'm going to subtract the 8x. So I don't have any like terms, so it'll be x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay, so now I'm going to factor. I can factor the numerator. The numerator factors and becomes x minus 4 times x minus 4. Over the denominator, which is 4 minus x. I cannot factor the denominator. So I can reduce x minus 4 and 4 minus x. Those are opposites, so they reduce to negative 1. So then my answer is negative times x minus 4. Or if you write negative x plus 4, same thing. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. So number 2 is I have different denominators. I have a denominator that's a 7 and a denominator that's a 3. So I need the LCD. So my LCD, so what that would be the smallest number that 7 and 3 both divide into evenly, and that would be 21. So I'm going to multiply the 7 by 3. So whatever you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by. So I'll multiply the 4 by 3. So that's going to give me 12 over 21 plus. And I'm going to have to multiply the 3 by 7 to get 21, and that means I multiply the numerator by 7. So I get 7 over 21. So I add the numerators, keep the denominator, so that's 19 over 21. Alright, so now we're going to do the same thing, but with algebraic fractions. Okay, so let's look at the steps here. So the first thing is you're going to factor the denominators completely. So right now you only worry about the denominators. Okay, now you have to get the denominators to be the same. Make any monomials that are integers the same by finding the LCD. So that was just like what we did in the try this. Alright, now your factors. You're going to multiply the numerators and the denominators by the missing factors that the other denominators have, so that the denominators will be the same. Alright, and then it's just like denominators. You're going to add or subtract the numerators. Remember, if you have a subtraction of a polynomial, remember to distribute the negative. You're going to keep the denominators. You're going to factor the numerators completely, and then check to see if you can reduce. Alright, so let's take a look at the first one here. So I have x plus 2 over 2 plus x minus 3 over 3. So I have just integers that are in the denominator. I have a 2 and a 3. So I would want to make my denominators become 6. So I would multiply the left fraction to make a 2 become 6. I would multiply the left fraction by 3. The numerator and the denominator by 3. So notice my numerator is a binomial, so you have to make sure that you use parentheses so that we distribute the 3. And I would multiply the right fraction here by 2. Numerator and denominator by 2 here. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So when I multiply the left fraction by 3, I get 3x plus 6. And then I'm just going to put the whole thing together, plus 2x minus 6 when I distribute the 2. And then my denominator will stay the same, will stay just as 6. Alright, so now let's combine like terms. I have 3x plus 2x, that is 5x. And 6 minus 6 is 0, so it'll be 5x over 6. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Alright, so let's take a look at number 2. Okay, so I noticed in number 2 I can factor the denominator. So I'm going to factor x squared plus 4x plus 3. That factors, and that becomes x plus 3 times x plus 1. And I can factor x squared minus 1. That becomes x plus 1, x minus 1. So look to see what's the same. So they both have x plus 1, so I don't have to worry about the x plus 1. So say to yourself, what is this denominator missing that this has? Oh, so look, this one has on the right, in the red, you have an x minus 1. This does not have x minus 1, so you're going to have to multiply numerator and denominator by x minus 1. All right, so I multiply by x minus 1, numerator and denominator. Okay, so now they both have x minus 1. They both have x plus 1. This one is missing the x plus 3. So I have to multiply the right fraction by x plus 3. Okay, so let's see what we got. I know my denominator is going to be x plus 1, x minus 1, x plus 3. And it doesn't matter how you write the denominator. If you put the x minus 1 first or the x plus 3 first, doesn't matter. In the numerator, so this here becomes just x minus 1. This just becomes plus x plus 3. So when I combine like terms, I get 2x plus 2 over x plus 1, x minus 1, x plus 3. And then I notice that I can factor 2x plus 2. So 2x plus 2 factors and becomes 2 times x plus 1 over x plus 1, x minus 1 times x plus 3. And then x plus 1 and x plus 1, they reduce to 1 and 1. So my answer is 2 over x minus 1 times x plus 3. Okay, so let's flip it over and take a look at what's on the back. Okay, so let's take a look at number 3. I have 3y over 2y minus 6 plus 9 over 6 minus 2y. Now, take a look at the denominators. What do you notice about the denominators? So hopefully you notice that the denominators are opposites. Okay, so I have a 2y minus 6 and a positive 6 minus 2y. So they are opposites. To make them the same, you just have to multiply one of the fractions by negative 1. So I'm going to multiply the left fraction by negative 1. So I'm going to keep the denominator as 2y minus 6. Because when I distribute, I'll get positive 2 minus 6. So I'll have 3y from here. And then this will be minus 9. And now I'm going to factor. So there's a GCF in the numerator. That's 3 times y minus 3. Over the denominator, the GCF is 2 times y minus 3. So y minus 3 and y minus 3 reduce to 1 and 1. So my answer is 3 halves. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. Okay, so number 4, I have 3 over 4x minus 3 over 8. So I have monomials I can't factor. So I want to make the 4 and 8 the same. So I can multiply the 4 by 2 to make it 8. So I'm going to multiply the 4 by 2. So numerator and denominator by 2. And now I need to get the 8 to have an x. So I'm going to multiply the 8 by x. Numerator and denominator. So I have the denominator will be 8x. And then I get 6 minus 3x. And I can factor the numerator. It's 3 times 2 minus x over 8x, but nothing reduces, so that would be my final answer. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Okay, so in the denominator, I have 3y and y. So now notice that you have to be careful because I will be subtracting. All right, so I need to make this 3y here, the y here, become 3y. So I'm going to multiply numerator and denominator by 3. So I'm going to multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. So be careful with that 3, though. So my denominator is going to be 3y. So I'll have, in the numerator, I will have 4y plus 3. Now, when I distribute the 3, remember, there's a minus there. So distribute that negative with the 3. So it'll be negative 3y. Minus 6. All right, so I have 4y minus 3y is y. 3 minus 6 is negative 3 over 3y. Nothing reduces, so I am done with that one. Okay, number 6. So for number 6, I noticed that I can factor the denominators. So the one on the left, the x squared minus x is x times x minus 1. And the one on the right is x plus 1, x minus 1. So let's see. They both have x minus 1. So this one is missing the x. So I have to multiply top and bottom here by x. Now they both have x. They both have x minus 1. Now I have to multiply this one by x plus 1 because that's what it's missing. So I'm going to multiply by x plus 1. Numerator and denominator. So now the numerator here has an x plus 2. So that is x plus 1 times x plus 2. I will have to double distribute. All right, so my denominator is going to be x plus 1, x minus 1, and I have an x. All right, so in the numerator here, I'm going to distribute the x. So I get x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 2 is 2. And then I have this minus 6x. All right, let's combine like terms. I have x squared. 2x plus x is 3x. Minus 6x is negative 3x. And then I have plus 2 over x plus 1. X minus 1, and x. All right, so now this numerator can be factored. So that becomes x minus 2, x minus 1 over x minus 1, x plus 1, and x. So x minus 1 and x minus 1 reduce to 1 and 1. So my answer is x minus 2 over x times x plus 1. Okay, so that's it, and everybody have a good night.